gathering in Utah. It's a little bit like a family gathering in a family with fertility problems, but we have big families there. Speaking of families, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. My son James, a few years ago, was dating this girl named Cassie. Love Cassie. Cassie's beautiful. Cassie's a musician. Kathy knew nothing about politics. She knew nothing about what James's father does for a living. We were fine with her not knowing that. I think she thought it was a carnival ride operator. But at some point, when Cassie realized that it was getting serious, she figured out what I do for a living. She realized, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I am politically. So naturally, she went online and took a quiz. So she approached James. She wasn't sure how he'd react to the news of what she was. She said, James, I took the quiz, and I found out what I am politically. She was very nervous. And he said, what are you? She said, I'm a libertarian. And James was so relieved. And he said, that's great, that's okay, that's pretty much what we are. We're just not quite pure enough to be that, but we're going to agree a little bit. But here's what happened. James and Cassie, it was fate, they got married. And just about 5 weeks ago, they had a baby. Her name is Daisy, and she's beautiful. So, and it worked out well. This combination between my constitutional conservative son and my libertarian daughter-in-law, it produced a perfect offspring. I was holding Daisy. She's like 6 weeks old now. Just an hour ago before I got here. I was holding her. True story. True story. She looks up at me, barely old enough to smile. And she says, Grandpa, you've got to introduce it next week. I didn't know she could talk. Just learned how to smile. And I said, introduce what? And she said, and the Fed! Tonight, right now, first time anyone's hearing it. Next week, I'm introducing the End the Fed bill of the United States Senate. I'll tell you what else. That creature, that bastard creature from Jekyll Island will not know what hit it. No CBDC Act. Look, it's not just the central bank digital currency would mess up our monetary system. It's that it would end the Constitution as we know it, and we must never, ever, ever allow that to happen. What do you guys think of George Washington's farewell address and his warning about entangling alliances? To hell with them, right? It's time to stop these endless, unnecessary, and most of all, undeclared foreign wars. Hell no! My colleagues tell me that, and I'm great with that because it's a compliment. But we get to the same conclusion. Constitutional conservatives and libertarians very often reach the same conclusion on CBDC, on end the Fed, on no foreign wars, on the fact that government's there to make sure that we don't kill each other or take each other's stuff. And that's about it. If it's not about life, liberty, and property, government probably should stay out. Try to ratchet down government. Now, you can't always do it all at once. When you fall from a 10-story building, it's not the fall that will kill you so much as the abrupt fall at the end. So we've got to do it methodically, but it's still got to be done. And so, in a little while, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from someone. I know you're divided on this person, but I've worked with him, and I want to tell you about where Donald Trump agrees with you on some things, some serious things. You know who doesn't like the central bank digital currency? Donald Trump, and he's coming at it. After being elected in 2016, a lot of people were worried about what he'd do with wars. And you know what? I was with him on countless occasions. I don't know if you know this, but I've got a lot of colleagues who are kind of fond of war. Secret, don't tell anyone. Some of those colleagues and some of the people in this sort of deep state crowd wanted to go into war. And I saw him, to his great credit, resist that over and over and over again. And I heard him tell me, as he was being encouraged to do this, he was tired of making those phone calls to husbands, fathers, parents, as somebody, a loved one, had died in another undeclared war. He pushed back on that. Donald Trump was also someone who took down federal regulations. He understood something. He understood something about, you know, I keep these two stacks of documents in my office. One stack is a few inches tall, sometimes about this tall at the most. It's the bills passed by Congress in the last year. It's probably, 10, 11 inches too many, but it's only a few hundred to a few thousand pages for each year. Those are the laws passed by Congress in the last year. There's another stack 13 feet tall, 100,000 pages long. That consists of laws made by unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats. Is that just? My version of Article 1, Section 7 says that you cannot make a federal law without the House and the Senate passing the same law, presenting it to the President, and having him sign it into law. Without that, there is no federal law. Do you know who recognizes that and wants to reverse this trend? Donald Trump! Here's the thing. You've got a great opportunity to hear from him in a few minutes. If you want to take my word for him, hear it from him. Let me tell you just a couple of things about him personally that you might not know. I don't know about you, but I love the Constitution. I dream about the Constitution. I have a pair of Nike basketball shoes with Article 1, Section 8 inscribed on the back, and I like it. I want to tell you a story about Donald Trump and the Constitution. One day I was in the Oval Office with him. We talked about all sorts of issues, all kinds of issues. Out of the clear blue, he asked me the nerdiest, the wonkiest constitutional question about the intersection of the Constitution and the Senate rules that I had ever imagined. I'm going to imitate him here for you. President Trump, I apologize in advance if you're offended by this, but there's no way I can communicate the full effect of it without doing it in his voice. So, here's what he said.
Mike, what would happen if somebody came onto the Senate floor and they objected based on the absence of a quorum while the Senate was in a pro forma session?
I won't give you the whole thing. It was really long, it was complicated, and I said, sir, I could answer that question. It'd probably take me a few hours. I would have to consult a few Senate rules experts and a couple of other lawyers, but I think I can get you the answer.
That's okay, I got time. Go talk to Johnny.
So I found this guy, Johnny. We assembled the necessary lawyers, Senate rules experts. Took us several hours. By the time we got it done, I watched Johnny through this like 10, 12-step answer. And I said, you've got this, and all of a sudden he said, no, you're going to have to come with me to explain it. I can't do it. So I went back to the Oval Office with him. Thought he'd probably left by now. It was dark. Walked in, he was on the edge of his seat.
Oh, come on in. That's Kellyanne Meadows.
You know, he rallied the step. So I gave him the answer to this question. It was complicated, and at the end of it,
He goes, you know, Mike, when the rest of us were 16, we were out chasing girls, doing crazy stuff.
and then he gets this really pained look on his face.
And then I think about you at that age. And you're not doing that. Like, you're at home, sitting at a desk, and you're studying the Senate rules and the Constitution. Am I right?
And I said, well, I didn't like girls at that age, but yes, you're not far off. I was doing that stuff too. And he goes,
I knew it.
and then he turned to his staff assembled and he said,
And yet, he has a beautiful wife. I don't know how he did it.
because it's doing crap it was never intended to do. We have been on a collision course with socialism since April 12, 1937, the day the Supreme Court of the United States bastardized the Commerce Clause, and by so doing, almost destroyed the vertical protection we call federalism. No sooner had that happened than Congress panicked over its newfound authority over labor, manufacturing, agriculture, mining, health, safety, welfare, and we stopped passing laws and we started delegating the lawmaking power. The result of all this has been really bad for the American people. It's been good only for a few people in Washington, D.C., home to 8 of the 10 wealthiest counties in America. We've got to return that power back where it belongs, to the people. So I'm here to ask you, don't settle for big government. Expect constitutional government. Demand that we restore federalism and separation of powers. Donald Trump may not agree with you on everything, but I can tell you, he will agree with you a whole hell of a lot more than that nutball in the White House or anybody else on the ticket. I encourage you, take a look at the Donald Trump, restore the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Ulbricht. U-L-B-R-I-C-T.
C-H-T.
C-H-T, sorry. Good.
Silk Road, yeah.
Now for tuning in and watching us live on the 6. Here's the American Okay, that was Senator Mike Lee from Utah, kind of considered a constitutional conservative, one of the more libertarian-leaning members of the Senate, but a Republican kind of nonetheless. Came here as sort of a warm-up act for former President Trump. There's a lot of dissent in the libertarian half of the crowd, which is sort of toward the front of the room, and the Trump supporters more in the back of the room right now, yelling for Donald Trump and everything like that. It's turning into a little bit of a yelling fight between the two sides. We'll see what happens when Trump ends up taking the stage. On the audience, you can actually see that there's signs that say MAGA equals socialist, which is the perspective of the libertarians. Looks like the Trump supporters are saying, we want Trump. It's just a great idea to send a former president. Put a banner on the screen and now I can jump the feed. I was going to say, I thought that the chairman was going to come and make peace between the two sides, and she comes to the podium and says, she is the fire starter. I guess so. Well, it seemed to de-escalate anyway. Okay, so again, what just happened there, some Trump supporters started chanting, we want Trump, we want Trump. Some of the Libertarians were giving them thumbs down. I saw a little bit of yelling at each other. Some Libertarians started yelling, "End the Fed! End the Fed!" And the Angela McArdle, the chairwoman of the Libertarian Party, came out to the podium, and it looked like she was going to try to say something to, de-escalate or whatever, but she ended up just saying one more time, "End the Fed!" And so they chanted that. Again, it looks like there's some Trump folks kind of yelling back and forth. We'll see what we can see of that. What time is it? We're like on schedule.
8:03.
Yeah.
You got that power bank working?
I'm getting slow charging. I gotta figure something out. Shit.
I have another power bank, but it's already probably over halfway spent. That's
No,
my
it's fine.
fresh
It's
one.
probably this cable. I gotta get my standard cable. Libertarian audience. And they have legitimate rights. They want answers. Can you win them over? Can you thread the needles? I don't know. If anybody could, I'd say it would be Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy went up and defeated Dave Smith, and there was some of the other guys that was on the debate yesterday with Vivek.
Clint Russell?
Clint Russell, VP.
And Clint Russell, VP candidate. Dave Smith did a really good job setting the tone and just saying, guys, look, it's not talking here who do not want to hear the president has to say. Let's see if we can win them over. Debate won over about 80% of the crowd. Because really, there is a lot of overlap in the things that happen through the Donald Trump campaign presidency and the Libertarian Committee. Free Ross. Trump wants to let the air out of the room. He better address Ross Ulbricht.
Hey, good to see you.
He addresses Ross Ulbricht. That's how you turn this around.
Maybe on my wife's
You address it.
I was like, I gotta get over
Say,
this.
well, free Ross Ulbricht. Pardon, instant pardon.
How you doing?
Good.
Massive
This is going to be an exciting. I think this will be the most hostile crowd Trump's ever spoken to. Like, and so I mean, 2/3 of the crowd is the Trump people, but the Libertarians have the front 4 rows.
Yeah.
And they
I saw your post
about how that happened. Yeah. I think that the Trump campaign
didn't know what they were watching.
they wanted to have the whole thing, and then it looked like all
All right. Well, you're doing great work, man. Keep
Thank
it up.
you. I really appreciate it. I think it's party
I
time.
don't see you out on the streets.
All right. Yeah, man. Really good to see you. Glad you're well.
But that might not be the case.
I think things will.
I know.
Will you be out there for
Well,
golf?
I just finished my book, so I went through all these publishers and all telling me to pick a side. So I just started a publishing company. I'm publishing myself.
That's good. That's
Ryan
good.
Dyer. Ryan Dyer.
I think that's
Ryan Dyer. Ryan Dyer is the title.
Oh, that's funny.
But
Are you going to be out there if things go the way it's
I have
coming?
a kid now, so I'm like,
Yeah. I get it. You got a close call.
we'll see.
So,
I gotta get it, but I also gotta sell books. So
yeah. It'll sell books.
yeah, Pigeon Press.
Just go out there for the really big ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know how it goes. I do. But I don't know, man. It's funny, when I first pitched the publishers 2 years ago, they told me Trump wasn't running again. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, well,
What you want to happen is what's going to happen.
yeah. If Trump's not too much of a. He'll never stop. Whatever, like, it's just
I know.
like. Literally from his deathbed, he'll just be like,
I know. That's why I said she has blood in his veins.
She's never gonna. No.
Come on, you can't call him a narcissist in one breath and then also say he's not.
But I will say from a logistics
Well, you got very
that
cheap,
microphone
right?
is not.
Yep, that's right. Yep. We have a dog and a bunny, no human baby.
Well, I highly recommend it.
I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
But yes, it does complicate the riot company.
Yeah. I totally get that. My wife is scared of shit.
Yeah, well, she has good reason.
Quick question for you. All I'm doing is streaming on X. Why did you talk about storage? I'm not.
It probably has something that saves it to the phone.
Hey Michelle, how's it going?
He's like, be right back, buddy. There's two. He's like, I'm the new guy. Well, I have to stay. This is like private Formula One. I'm just trying to guess what's happening based on the next. Yeah, no, we were totally in trouble. Like, the guy thought that I was like 1,000%. Like, I went and looked, I'm like, yes, I'm walking into the garage, in the hallway there. It's great.
Are you streaming right now?
You got to get a fucking car.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Brian.
It just shut down. It shut down on me 3 times now saying it's got storage. I'm just trying to stream. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, okay.
Is this his guy?
Oh, it's on a replay.
That's his guy, right? I just don't understand. more. What's that point to say? Yeah. You guys still like the Fed, right? Yeah. One dude in the middle.
Oh, you're eating some. So he wants to go.
You go out and on your own.
Thank you.
Let me know if you do.
I'm on off. Uniforms.
For those who are asking in the audience, Ross is Ross Ulbricht. There are people with signs that say Free Ross, and that's a really big platform for the Libertarians. Ross Ulbricht, more than 10 years ago, was convicted of starting a website where people could buy and sell basically drugs and other things using Bitcoin, and he was basically charged kind of to the max. He was convicted, and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 40 years in federal prison, which in the federal system, there being no parole, Ross will die in prison, but for a change in the law or a presidential pardon. Trump, of course, declined to pardon Ross Ulbricht during his 4 years of his presidency, with this unique opportunity of having the former president here, and the potential, of course, that former President Trump will become the president again. That has become a rallying cry among many of the libertarians to push Trump to take the position that he would at least pardon Ross Ulbricht. They have a number of different demands that they kind of made, or things that they want Trump to talk about here at his address. There was actually a list sent out by email a little bit earlier of the different subjects they want him to do. I think it remains to be seen whether President Trump will talk about the things that someone else tells him to talk about, left to his own devices. But with that being said, just off the top of my head, some of the demands in that letter, things that they want to know what Trump is thinking about, are that they want him to pardon Julian Assange, and of course Trump is the one whose administration charged Julian Assange, so it would really be a reverse course for him to do that, to pardon Edward Snowden. Of course, Snowden left the country basically because he would have been charged by the Obama administration Trump made no effort to sort of reverse that. So, of course, that would, again, it would be a pretty big change of policy if Trump were to commit to pardoning either of them. And then, of course, the pardon of Ross Ulbricht is something that they want. They were also talking about, of course, that the Libertarians want to end the Federal Reserve and have what they refer to as sound money. What they mean by that is money that's backed by something like gold or silver or something else tangible as opposed to just a fiat currency. What's sort of interesting about that is that just a little bit ago, before President Trump is set to take the stage, Republican Senator Mike Lee from Utah came here and gave a speech. He got some boos but some cheers, talking about minimizing the size of government, and announcing in front of this audience that he's going to introduce legislation to end the Fed. What I think is kind of interesting about this is that such legislation, even if it passed the Senate or the House, would never, ever be signed by President Joe Biden. So I think the implication of Mike Lee coming out here was sort of to say that he feels that Trump has more of an alignment with the Libertarians, at least than Joe Biden does. And at least as far as an issue like ending the Fed, although Trump has not, to my knowledge, ever said that he takes that position, I think Mike Lee seems to be implying that perhaps Trump might have some level of alignment on other issues that the Libertarians really care about, that they've expressed that they feel Donald Trump has departed from them on, are foreign policy, where the Libertarians favor sort of non-interventionalism, an anti-war stance, an end to foreign aid. And Trump has gone part of the way there with them on Ukraine, of course, after the Trump presidency. But Trump has given a sort of a full-throated support of Israel and criticized Biden for insufficiently supplying weapons and assistance to Israel. So on that particular subject, he really finds himself on the opposite end of the party. Earlier today in this very room, I filmed Libertarian Party Chairman Angela McArdle as she was talking about the upcoming Trump speech here. And Angela McArdle specifically described the suffering of Palestinian people as a point of divergence sort of between the Republican message and the Libertarian message, where the Libertarians tend to, in general, at the very least, support not supporting Israel or giving them military assistance, and many of them very specifically are sympathetic to the plight of Palestinian people in this moment. So the party on the whole very much is on the opposite side of Trump on that particular issue. I did see one sign a little bit earlier that actually said MAGA equals socialism. So from, of course, the perspective of the Libertarians here, they view Trump as sort of a statist, and that's essentially the criticism, that Libertarians want small government, and while Trump incidentally falls into that position on a handful of issues, that in general that's not his philosophy. Just to add a little bit more context, as we're just waiting, and right now there's just music playing and people talking, so nothing really is happening in front of me as I'm speaking to you about this. In this room earlier, when Libertarian Chairwoman Angela McArdle did a press gaggle, she was asked a lot about how she thinks this will go and sort of the motivation to do this event. What they described is that they invited the various presidential candidates, including President Biden, Cornel West, Jill Stein, who is the Green Party candidate, as well as RFK Jr., all to do the same thing, to speak and appear in front of the LNC. What Angela described, which Chairwoman McArdle described, is that the Green Party candidate Jill Stein and the independent candidate Cornel West both wanted to do it, but had scheduling issues that basically led them to not be able to make it here, and so those two didn't make it for that specific reason. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did speak last night, and I can speak to that in just a moment, but I will say they also said that basically President Biden's team replied with an acknowledgement of the request, but did not even say no. They just simply didn't actually say yes or no. They acknowledged that they received the request, but didn't take anything else from there. So in the end, it was only Robert F. Kennedy and Jr. and in just a few moments, Trump who spoke here. Last night, Robert F. Kennedy was speaking in this very same room. The room was not all the way full when he did it. This has certainly attracted much more attention. People are standing. Right, there's not enough seats for all of the people here in the room for Trump. With Robert F. Kennedy, there were some empty seats, but people were interested. Robert F. Kennedy gave a speech to the Libertarians that was almost entirely based on his adherence to the Bill of Rights. He was talking about how he supports, First Amendment. He did talk about the Second Amendment. I do know that. There's not much I can say about it, but thank you. I do appreciate that. To the people who are watching the thing live, unfortunately, it's dark in the room, and the backlight behind the speaker where it says "Become Ungovernable" is a big LCD screen. And so that has had the effect on the live stream of really whitewashing out the speaker. I will do my best, but there's not very much I can do in order to prevent the former President Trump from kind of looking like that. But I will do my best to make it look visually good. As I was talking about as it relates to RFK, there were people yelling a number of different demands to RFK. He gave a speech where he did say that he would pardon Julian Assange. He did say that he would free Edward Snowden. So those were some major, I wouldn't call them concessions because I think he did advocate those things before, but things that he emphasized that he aligns with the Libertarians on. Overall, it was fairly warmly received, but he did receive boos kind of on a number of issues. The lighting in the room sort of changed just now, which may indicate that Trump is on the way, but there's still music playing, so again, I'll just keep talking for just a second. So, continuing on, Chairman McArdle of the Libertarian Party was asked a lot about sort of why are you doing this? So I want to just kind of point out kind of the context of this. The Libertarian Party has existed since 1972, nominating its own presidential candidate every time. They won one electoral college vote. I believe it was that first year in 1972. The first ever electoral college vote actually to go to a woman, which was in that case on the vice president on the ticket. So the party has a history of nominating different presidential candidates, and they consider themselves to be a distinct party. And so while there are self-proclaimed libertarians in the Republican Party, it is. I've been here since 9 o'clock.
Brian, is there anywhere else you can scoot this?
Sorry, a little bit of chaos going on up on here. The music has stopped, so actually I'm going to direct back at the stage. Thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned, and President Trump, former President Trump, should be taking the stage fairly soon.
And he's standing. He's standing on a convention chair. Why is he standing on a convention chair?
That's actually the pool feed. That's the pool feed. There's going to be like.
Right, but is that regulation to stand on like a convention chair to operate a camera like that? It doesn't seem safe.
Typically, you would use a stool like this.
Yeah, like the New York Times that one.
Disco party.
Yeah.
The lights keep going off and on, and it makes everybody think in the room that he's going to be here. I should note that I did see kind of confirmed reporting that he is in the building. It is sort of, however, sort of classic Trump fashion to be late, even when he's at the thing that he's late to. It is extremely unusual for President Trump to take the stage at the time that he was scheduled to speak. I've kind of been joking that an 8 o'clock speech time means that we'll see him around 9. So we'll kind of see what happens. Again, they kind of just faked it out. The lights going off and on, and it makes it look like it's over. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the circumstances while we're waiting here for this event happening. The Libertarians have always put up their own presidential candidate, and including this year, they had a primary debate today where 5 candidates vied for the nomination, just like any other party. The actual nominating of the candidate will take place tomorrow. But with that being said, so it's kind of bizarre for a party to have a rival political candidate. You could imagine if the Green Party invited President Biden to their convention. You can imagine if the Democrats invited Trump to their convention. It's unusual. And so the stated reason by the chairman of the party, Angela McArdle, was that this has brought attention to the party. It gives them a chance to sort of confront Trump with the various ideas. There was the question of, well, what about a debate? The Libertarians often say that the biggest problem that they face is that they're not included in the presidential debate. So if President Trump is showing up, why not do a debate? Apparently, reportedly, the Trump campaign did not want to do a debate like that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Did say that he would do such a debate if Trump would participate in it, and he was told no. So, in essence, all that they had that was possible here was that President Trump would come and speak. We'll see if the party takes advantage of the opportunity to offer some kind of a rebuttal or anything like that afterwards. It is worth noting that right now the YMCA by the Village People is playing. This is one of Trump's favorite songs and tends to indicate that the Donald is on the way. There was a little bit of internal division here about Trump speaking. So that's the other thing that I kind of wanted to say. So while most of the members of the Libertarian Party would strongly say that they favor the Libertarian candidate, and most of them would say that they are essentially anti-Trump for Libertarian reasons, the party was really split much more down the middle on the subject of whether it's a good idea to invite the other candidates. You had some candidates who were saying, no other political party offers us such an opportunity. Why should we offer them that? Why would we give them our platform? That was sort of one side of it that was against it. Some of the state parties even offered formal resolutions condemning and saying that they should disinvite Trump. And on the other hand, there were some libertarians who felt this will bring attention to the party in a way that it never has before. And I'm not going to say that, of course, it's not my place to say either side of those things is right, but it is true that it has attracted a lot of new attention. Now, the way that it went earlier, and I was covering this very extensively on Twitter, so if you're watching this right now on one of the other platforms, if you go to @FordFisher on Twitter, you'll see kind of a thread where I explain what happened. But there was a little bit of a kerfuffle, a little bit of a problem earlier, which is that this room was cleared for a sweep, and then people were able to enter as of 4 p.m. The actual business of the Libertarian Party, including the delegates of the party, which are people who traveled to Washington, D.C. here to participate in it and vote and all that sort of thing, didn't end until 5:30. What that meant was the room was about half full. All the best spots, right? The front of the room was entirely full, but the room itself was about half full with Trump supporters by the time even a single one of the Libertarian delegates who had done all of their business with the party was able to actually get in. And so when a bunch of Libertarian delegates did finally show up, they were sort of held on standby for a bit, and the chairwoman of the party basically said, we need the MAGA people to back off. Basically, we need you to get out of your seats and move back and make room for libertarians to be closer to Trump. The MAGA people mostly complied, but it is worth noting that, at this point, just a couple of hours ago, the Libertarian Party chairman literally said that she could use security against the Trump supporters in order to move them away, in order to give libertarians the space. So there was a little bit of conflict, you might say, there. Of course, nothing physical happened. The Trump supporters and libertarians have been yelling at each other, but they have physically gotten along. They did give up the seats sort of in that moment. And there were also a couple speakers who went up who are much more kind of trusted and favored by the libertarians, such as comedian Dave Smith. And he was talking about that basically he feels that President Trump should be given kind of a respectful welcome. He wants them to listen, and he wants them to express themselves, but not to overly heckle them. I should also say on that note that Angela McArdle, the chairman, was asked earlier about basically, what are you concerned about your party heckling? right? This is probably, I would say, this is probably the most hostile room that Trump has ever walked into in the course of his campaigning. He walks into rooms of people who support him, and occasionally there's protesters among them who might have snuck in or whatever, who then end up yelling or heckling. But those are usually pretty one-off. This is a room of a rival political party, and although it almost ended up being entirely attended by Trump supporters, they kind of used like a strong-arm method, so to speak, in order to get libertarians into the room. Trump will be facing people who disagree with him whenever he takes the stage here, however late he ends up being to the stage. But in any event, Trump will be facing libertarians, and so the question will be, how will they treat him? Earlier, Robert F. Kennedy, his campaign was actually handing out rubber chickens that you squeeze, and they make, like a squawking kind of noise. They said debate Bobby on them. And so the RFK campaign was basically trying to get the members of the Libertarian Party to squeeze chickens, to squeeze these rubber chickens at Trump in order to interrupt him. There were also kazoos being handed out. So basically, there were tools of interruption that some Trump supporters, that some libertarians were kind of wielding earlier during the convention. My understanding, it was reported that the Secret Service and TSA, who were doing all of the security in order to get into this room, were confiscating kazoos and rubber chickens. So we probably will not see interruptions by those unless anyone snuck them in. But I think the point remains that there were some people who were interested or willing to interrupt the former president. And indeed, even for Senator Mike Lee, who spoke earlier, there was some level of booing. So we'll see exactly how this goes, but with some level of internal conflict among the crowd, as well as, of course, disagreement with the former president, I think it really remains to be seen how they respond to him here. So I guess we're going to find out. The current state of things is that the lights are on.
Might be three groups. Might be the Libertarians and the RFK people.
Yeah, so it's been pointed out to me from the side that maybe there's three groups, because there's also the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Supporters as well.
Angela McArdle, Chair of
Here's the chair.
Libertarian National Convention.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I also invited Joe Biden and did not attend. We have an incredible opportunity tonight, and I'm really grateful for it. Never in the history of the Libertarian Party has a former president and front-runner candidate for the presidency come to speak specifically to our concerns. Thank you all for making history with us. I want to continue this trend, so let's work towards that. I really appreciate you all. And without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
president in American history to address the Libertarian National Convention. Right on. A lot of people ask why I came to speak at this Libertarian Convention. You know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Well, in the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things. So if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. And unlike Joe Biden, I don't throw people in jail for disagreeing with me. I want to thank some people that have been really outstanding, and they are great libertarians and great people. Ambassador Rick Grinnell, Senator Mike Lee, Kash Patel, and Senate candidate who's going to win from Virginia, Hung Cao. I also want to pay our deepest respects to the two young missionaries from Missouri, Davy and Natalie Lloyd, that were viciously killed yesterday in Haiti. It was a horrible thing, and I just want to pay our respects to their families. They're great families, incredible people, and it's a very, very sad moment. What happened was so horrible. So, hey, Davy and Natalie, please, thank you very much. I'd also like to express my gratitude to all the fierce champions of freedom in this room. You are champions of freedom. And I'm here to talk to you about the rise of left-wing fascism in the country and to need to defeat the corrupt and incompetent tyrant in the White House, crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States. He is the worst president by far in the history of the United States. In fact, I would say that Jimmy Carter is very happy tonight because he goes down as being a brilliant president by comparison. Everyone here tonight believes that we must fight for the same fundamental freedoms: freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of the right to own a firearm, and freedom over taxation. And you're going to like me, firearm, you're going to like me. Nobody better than me. We just got the full NRA, the strongest endorsement they've ever given. Freedom from overregulation, freedom from government discrimination, and we believe that we do not have a free country if we do not have free speech, and very strongly believe that. We stand opposed to government tyranny in all of its many forms. We are opposed to a government that spies on political campaigns. I wonder who that might be. Like they did on me, spies on the American people, censors us, and crushes the rights of its own citizens, which the Biden administration does. We want government out of our business, out of our wallets, and out of our lives. We believe that Marxism is an evil doctrine straight from the ashes of hell. Having Marxism in our government is intolerable, and teaching it to our children is considered to us child abuse. We believe that the job of the United States military is not to wage endless regime change wars around the globe, senseless. The job of the United States military is to defend America from attack and invasion here at home. We believe that property rights are fundamental to a free society, and that Joe Biden's rampant inflation is a monstrous theft from the American people. It's a theft. We believe that the greatest threat to our country is not from enemies abroad. It's the tyrants, communists, fascists, and thugs attacking our rights and liberties. And above all else, we live by the words of the great American patriot, Patrick Henry: give me liberty or give me death. Our rights and freedoms have never been more endangered than they are right now. That is why I have come to extend a hand of friendship to ask for your partnership to defeat communism, defeat Marxism, and defeat crooked Joe Biden, who is destroying our country. He's destroying our country. We can be libertarian or anything else. This man is destroying our country. Joe Biden here speaking to you tonight. You know why? Why isn't it? Because he can't put two sentences together. That's why. The fact is, we should not be fighting each other. If Joe Biden gets back in, there will be no more liberty for anyone in our country. Combined with us in a partnership, we're asking that of the Libertarians. We must work together. Combine with us. You have to combine with us. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. Today's radical left Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of years ago, which still wanted big government, but at least believed in tolerance and free speech. Joe Biden's radical left Democrat Party is a fascist movement that wants to throw you in jail. If you post a meme, they don't like. They want to throw you in jail if you do something that isn't quite to their liking. What you're witnessing under Biden is a toxic fusion of the Marxist left, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the government security and surveillance services, and their partners, all merging together into a hideous perversion of the American system. And that's exactly what it is. The fact is that Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. My mission is to liberate our nation from these fascist frauds and to rescue our democracy, to restore our republic, and to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House so that America can be a free nation once again. He's the worst in history. The Biden regime censors its critics, spies on its opposition, takes away the bank accounts of U.S. citizens as an extra form of punishment, persecutes Christians and patriotic parents, and is currently trying to put the leading candidate for president in jail. That happens to be me. While imposing a strict gag order in order to keep me from talking about their crimes and their unconstitutional acts. They want to get rid of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, due process, the right to a fair trial, and the right to counsel, all the while pushing wealth confiscation and waging endless and unnecessary wars all over the globe. Anyone can talk about defending freedom, but I've actually put everything on the line to resist these despots and these puppets. And I stand before you tonight as your best hope of defeating the weaponized Biden and the very evil regime that his people, because it's probably not him because he doesn't know where the hell he is, but that his people are pursuing. You can make the difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. Together we can make America freer than ever before for citizens of all backgrounds and all walks of life. We can unleash new hope, optimism, and energy. We can release limited government so that the people can have an unlimited future. United, we will be unstoppable. If we unite, we are unstoppable. I will be a true friend to libertarians in the White House. And I am proud to be the only president in 70 years who started no new wars. I took on the military-industrial complex. I broke the stranglehold on neocons and warmongers on the Republican Party. And instead of war, I made peace in the Middle East, something nobody thought was possible, and dealt with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, where a nuclear war was guaranteed to start in a very short period of time if Hillary Clinton became president. You know, that would have been a nuclear war, 100%. And you would have never had the October 7th attack in Israel, would have never happened. And the attack in Ukraine by Russia would never, ever have happened. Wouldn't have happened. Hundreds of thousands and even millions of people would be living today. I unbound the United States from globalist agreements that surrendered our sovereignty. I withdrew from the Paris Accord. I withdrew from the anti-gun UN arms treaty. And I withdrew from the corrupt and very expensive World Health Organization. Not a good thing. I passed the most significant, and this is so important, but I passed the most significant criminal justice reform in history. And perhaps my proudest accomplishment is to have exposed the depth of corruption in the Washington swamp. Thanks to me, the entire world knows that the deep state is real, and the lamestream media is fake. It's fake. A great libertarian, who may very well be in the room right now, I believe, but he's a great libertarian, D. Roy Murdoch, who I've become friends with through his writings in the American Spectator and numerous other places, wrote an article yesterday in which he mentions just some of the things that make me a libertarian without even trying to be one. That's nice. D. Roy wrote, Donald J. Trump will address the Libertarian Party at its national convention on Saturday. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for president of the United States. That's not. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as solid as the Hope Diamond. D. Roy says this. This event is very unprecedented, he said. As the Cato Institute president, Peter Goether, observed in Thursday's Washington Post, it will be the first time think of this, first time in U.S. history that a presidential candidate of a rival party will address the convention of a party that is presumably gathering to nominate its own candidate. Now I think you should nominate me, or at least vote for me, and we should win together. Libertarians want to vote for me, and most of them will. And it's very important. Because we have to get rid of the worst president in history. And together we will. And without it, there's a risk that we can have 4 more years, we won't have a country left. So what is the purpose of the Libertarian Party getting 3%? What is the reason to take a chance of having this horrible president destroy our country, which he will do in far less than 4 years? It's not going to take 4 years. That is why I'm committing to you tonight that I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts. Going the way you have for the last long decades and get you 3% and meet again, get another 3%. Now, you want to make yourself winners. It's time to be winners. You have a lot of common sense. It's So I'm asking for the Libertarian, well, think of it. I'm asking for the Libertarian Party's endorsement, or at least lots of your votes, lots and lots of Libertarian votes, based on my 4-year, very outstanding presidential record. Much of my record is Libertarian. As an example, D-Roy. Hey, where is D-Roy? Is he here? D-Roy! Where are you? He's great. I like D-Roy. I've liked him for a long time, and he is a libertarian. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. D-Roy wrote, the $1.5 trillion Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was America's largest infusion of tax release. That's the largest tax relief ever. It sliced individual tax rates for all taxpayers and slashed corporate tax rates from a punishing 35% to a globally competitive, and much more than that, only 21%, way down. It was the largest tax cut in the history of our country. Now you can like it or you don't have to like it. Immediate expensing of business equipment and other reductions fueled the best economy that our country has ever had. For 4 years, we had the best economy our country has ever had. Black and Hispanic unemployment reached the best levels in history. Female joblessness slid to levels unseen before. Black poverty collapsed to record lows. And all of the things, income inequality shrank, and it shrank at levels we've never witnessed. Between 2016 and 2019, real median household income grew. These were the Trump years. 16.4%, the highest ever, to almost $10,000 per family. Think of that. Number 2, Trump cut red tape as never before. He promised to kill 2 old regulations for every new one. And in fact, he ended up actually scrapping 8 for 1. And he was going to 12 to 1 and doing numbers that were unbelievable. Thank you, D-Roy. D-Roy is, and I'm actually just quoting from the article that came out today from D-Roy Murdoch. He said, number 3, Trump fully restrained inflation. We had practically none. Prices were rising just 1.4% as he left office. And this was a fraction of the 9% inflation that lying Joe Biden repeatedly claimed Trump handed him. No, he said we handed him no. It went up to 9% after he took over the White House and created all the inflationary acts. He did a horrible job. The 30-year mortgage rate, as Trump departed, was 2.77% versus the almost 9% today. And you, by the way, even if you pay 9%, you can't get any money. There's no money available. Trump's drill baby drill approach fostered energy independence, which we've never had before. Low fuel and electricity prices helped moderate inflation and propel economic growth. But all of these things have now skyrocketed. They have skyrocketed to levels never seen. Inflation has hit us harder than it's probably ever hit us before, and people are suffering because of it. Trump promoted parental rights in school choice. Trump's education department repealed the so-called guidance letter that turned on-campus sexual harassment accusations into de facto criminal convictions. You know all about that. Who else is good after you? Trump restored due process to the he said, she said minefield for your children. I know many, many people, what they've gone through with that is they've gone through hell. In a powerful blow, Trump required universities to respect the First Amendment lest they lose their federal funds. They said, you don't respect the First Amendment, we're taking away all of your federal funding. Trump torpedoed Obamacare's individual mandate and got rid of many of its taxes. Medical price transparency empowered consumers to shop for health care services and compare costs. And this is one of the biggest things that's happened. And it's reducing the price of drugs and everything related to drugs and medical care at levels not seen before. This will soon be happening. The competition is now slowing what were ballooning healthcare expenses. Trump signed right to try. Terminally ill patients now can receive experimental and possibly life-saving treatments. And when at death's door, what do these suffering Americans have to lose? What do they have to lose, you ask? They are so thousands and thousands of people are now living because of right to try. Trump nominated some 300 constitutionalist federal judges, a record, including a seldom seen 3 Supreme Court justices in one presidential term. Very rarely seen before, if ever. Trump canceled and defunded federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and other state-funded racism schemes. The VA Mission Act, which Trump signed, lets military veterans receive federally funded medical care in the private sector if delays prevent their treatment in VA hospitals. In other words, if they're delayed, they can go out and get a private doctor. We pay the bill. They go out, they get a private doctor, they get better. People were waiting online for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and not anymore. Trump signed a measure that streamlined dismissals of federal bureaucrats who abuse America's beloved veterans. He got NATO countries to pay hundreds of billions of dollars more for their protection. The only president who did so in substantially reducing what we were forced to pay. We got them to pay, other nations to pay hundreds of billions of dollars that they weren't paying. No other president was able to do that, reducing very substantially what we pay. During the Trump administration, we had peace through strength, no wars other than the complete and total destruction of ISIS. And DeRoy ended by saying that most libertarians would say this is a non-exhaustive roster of accomplishments like no other, that it truly shines. So again, DeRoy, thank you very much. DeRoy Murdoch, I appreciate it. We could not have written that better. And as you say, there were many other things we did that were quite libertarian also. So I want to thank you very much. That was a great article. Thank you. DeRoy Murdoch. When I return to the White House, we will break the deep state grip on our democracy once and for all. I did far more than any other president in that regard. As an example, I inherited James Comey, a terrible, terrible person from the Obama administration. And very early on, I fired him and lots of others at the FBI, in addition to thousands and thousands of corrupt and unnecessary people throughout our government. And now we are going to finish the job. We will root out the sickness that has taken over our Justice Department, our FBI, and other agencies. Our goal will be nothing less than the rebirth of fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. Since the day he took office, Joe Biden has worked to persecute political dissidents, including conservatives, Catholics, and other Christians and opponents of his weaponized state. Right now, the Biden DOJ is trying to put Christians in prison for 11 years for the crime of singing hymns. The moment I win the election, I will appoint a special task force to rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner who has been unjustly persecuted by the Biden administration, so that I can sign their pardons or commutations on day one. I will ensure that libertarians are helping to lead that task force. You'll be on that task force, many of you. As everyone knows, it will be my great honor to pardon the peaceful January 6th protesters, or as I often call them, the hostages. They're hostages. There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history. This abuse will be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served. Served 11 years. We're going to get him home. I'm proud that I put forward a detailed plan to smash the censorship and industrial complex and restore free speech. On day one, I will sign an executive order banning federal agencies from colluding to censor the lawful speech of American citizens. And we will remove the rogue bureaucrats who conspire to take away your First Amendment freedoms. We will do that quickly. I will once again slash a record number of liberty-destroying regulations. I will stop Joe Biden's plan for the largest tax. He is going to give you the largest tax increase in the history of our country. And I will end that. And I will make the Trump tax cuts the biggest in the history of our country. We will make them permanent tax cuts. We will also stop the massive Biden inflation tax, a stealth tax by which crooked Joe Biden is printing trillions and trillions of dollars and plundering it for the cronies and political friends that he's got all over Washington. And we will cancel the Green New Deal, which is the Green New Scam. It's a big scam. We will terminate crooked Joe's insane electric vehicle mandate. And we're going to bring your energy costs down by 60 and 70% because we will drill, baby, drill. We will eliminate illegal government discrimination, return to a society based on individual rights and individual merit. Stop Joe Biden's crusade to crush crypto. We're going to stop it. I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. I will also immediately end the humanitarian disaster on our southern border. We will end it quickly. You cannot have capitalism and also have open borders because you will soon be turned into a socialist nation, then a poor nation, and finally you will be a failed nation. By ending the border crisis, which we will do immediately, we will save freedom, prosperity, and capitalism in America. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. So we quit spending hundreds of billions of dollars to fight other people's wars, and so that we start immediately saving thousands and thousands of lives. And I am committed to restoring peace and restoring stability, and to stopping Joe Biden's march to World War III. You know you're being led right into World War III. You know that. You're going to have World War III, and it will be a war like no other because of the weaponry, the massive weaponry. It will be a war like no other. We will stop it. And I'm the only one that's going to be able to stop it. I will protect American sovereignty from the creeping hands of global government. And as we speak, Joe Biden's minions are in Geneva, secretly negotiating to surrender more of our liberty to the World Health Organization. Drafts of the agreement show that they want to subjugate America to foreign nations, attack free speech, empower the World Health Organization to redistribute American resources. They're going to take our money and send it all over the world to other countries that we need for our own citizens in the event of a pandemic, and it can happen again. I am hereby demanding that Joe Biden submit these monstrosities to the Senate as treaties. They have to be submitted as treaties because he cannot be allowed to do that, destroy our country. He is. If he does not, I will rip them up and throw them out on day one of the Trump administration. On education, we will cut federal funding for any school pushing Marxist and communist race and gender theories on our children. We will keep men out of women's sports. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. We will shut down our out-of-control federal Department of Education and give it back to the states and local governments. I will return power to the states, local governments, and to the American people. I am a believer in the 10th Amendment. I will always defend religious liberty and the right to keep and bear arms. And I will secure our elections. So in conclusion, to every freedom lover here today, and there are a lot of them, and all across our land, I say, this is no ordinary election. Freedom itself is at stake. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. So if you want to strike a blow against the corrupt system in Washington, if you want to send a message to all of the people who want to take away your liberty, then right now, in this election, we need your help. We need your support. When I'm in the White House, you will always find an open door to the Oval Office. Together we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. But no matter how hateful or corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting are, and they are vicious and they are corrupt, you must never forget, this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you, belongs to you. This is your home, this is your heritage, and our American liberty is your God-given right. 2024 is our final battle. With your help, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will drain the swamp, and we will restore and rescue our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, the great liberation of America begins on November 5th, 2024. It will be the most important day in the history of our country. And the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. I want to thank you. I want your support. And again, you can either nominate us and put us in the position or give us your votes. I would say nominate or give us your votes, but we want libertarian votes because you stand for what we stand for, and don't waste a vote, and don't allow the worst president in the history of our country to come back and do the final destruction of America. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. God bless you.
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Angela McArdle.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stick around. I am paging Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver. Mike Termott and Michael Rechtenwald to the stage. We had a straw poll earlier today. I believe there were some duplicate votes, so we are pulling the top 3 vote getters to the stage for a press conference immediately. Please bear with us, media. We would love to have a press conference with you right now. Please stick around.
That would be great.
We are getting 2 more microphones.
Were you one of the folks standing back? Oh, it's this. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think they've done it. They literally made a golden calf. I think he wants to talk.
Hey, I just live streamed the whole thing. I was watching from up there. It looked like you stood with your back to the former president.
Yes.
What sorts of objections did you have for him? What was your message in doing that?
The message is we don't want him here in the first place. He's not a libertarian. He may claim to be a libertarian, but when he was in office, he did nothing that was libertarian. He bombed Syria. No one remembers that. He drone bombed Syria. So for him to claim that he started no new wars is just a lie. We need to stop electing liars. 70% of the people in my voting district, Congressional District 32, don't even vote. So they've already given up on the 2-party system. Libertarians give them an option. You don't know how many times I've been on the campaign trail and I'm standing on a corner showing my sign and somebody will pull over and go, "Thank you for giving me somebody to vote." That's what libertarians do for me.
Paging Mike Termott.
Are you concerned about the image that this
Yes.
creates for libertarians?
Yes, that's why I stood with my back to it.
Because we should not be cheering him. He is delivering nothing but platitudes and lies. He has had 4 years to drain the swamp.
He didn't do it. He grew government.
He
$8 trillion in national debt is his. So he's lying to us. He's placating. We need, as voters, we need to stop letting these guys placate to us. When they don't do what they say, vote them out and don't give them another chance.
What did you think about what he said about, I'll have a libertarian in the cabinet, I'll have libertarian advice? He likes to play favorites. It's
placating.
He wants you to be like, oh, it's you in charge, well, it's you laughing. He loves to. Do you think that's a message that's playing to some people in your party?
Yes, of course it would.
Yes. And why is that?
And it's sad because they've given up their principles. The principles that we supposedly stand for, what they've given us, including our chair.
Our chair is more concerned.
We're looking for media. Come to the front. Make your way up.
Media and to win than sticking to our principles. We are the party of principles.
Supposed to be.
Are you concerned about libertarians actually following through with his request?
He will be nominated tomorrow. He will not win, but I promise you, someone of the libertarians is going to put him up from the floor.
All right, so here's going to be our format. We're going to take about 2 minutes for each
about the results today
candidate.
for McArdle? I mean, she's
share
won
a little bit
another
about
2
themselves,
years as chair. What does that say
feedback,
about the party?
and then we're going to go to Q&A with the press.
It's been
I'm going to welcome
overtaken.
Chase Oliver to the microphone
We've been
first.
compromised.
Hello, Libertarians. Isn't it nice to have a Libertarian on the stage at the Libertarian National Convention? Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself, because the mainstream media doesn't like to listen to Libertarians very often. But my name is Chase Oliver, and I got involved in politics to oppose the warfare state, both at home and abroad. I got started opposing neocon war criminals, and we just had a neocon war criminal on our stage a few minutes ago. And I have a message for Donald Trump. I want you to go to sleep at night and think about all the innocent people in Syria that you killed with your airstrikes, with your supposed no new wars. I want you to have to think about all the children you drone bomb and your collateral damage that you don't report because you're too scared to let people know that we're killing innocent people with bombs.
And I am sick and tired of some sort of charlatan grifter coming up here and selling us some sort of false vision of liberty when we know what true liberty is. It's non-aggression and it's your right to live as you see fit, not as Donald Trump sees fit. Now, make no mistake, I have no love for Joe Biden, but he didn't even think to come on this stage and pretend to be a libertarian because he knows the truth. He isn't one. But Donald Trump needs to know that message loud and clear. You are not a libertarian, Donald Trump. You're a war criminal and you deserve to be shamed by everyone in this hall. If you want a real contrast to Donald Trump and whoever he picks as a running mate, you select me as our candidate. Why? Because I'm young enough to actually have grown up in the war on terror generation. I'm young enough to know what it's like to see the abuses that happen, and I am sick and tired of seeing old tyrants giving us old solutions when we need bold solutions from new leadership. I urge each and every one of you to get on the floor tomorrow and make a statement against Donald Trump by nominating a ticket that combined me and my running mate are younger than Donald Trump. And that's because we represent the next generation of liberty, the powerful generation of liberty, the anti-war message of liberty, the get out of our lives message of liberty. That's the kind of libertarians we are, and that's the kind of message I'm going to bring to Donald Trump, Joe Biden, RFK, and any other statist that dares try to take the name liberty in vain. Stand up for liberty, stand up for our rights, and say hell no to Donald Trump. Thank you.
We are welcoming back to the stage Dr. Michael Rechtenwald.
Good evening. Good to see you once again. Actually, I can't see you at all. These lights are very bright. Well, I just saw a little political theater tonight. It was quite a comedy, wasn't it? I mean, I couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like it couldn't be real, but it was. But listen, most importantly, what I think has happened today is that the Libertarian Party has moved the needle toward liberty. We are seeing chinks in their armor. We are exploiting those chinks. We will crack this tyranny. We will do it one blow at a time. We will do this. That's racist. I don't have a particular abhorrence for Donald Trump in any sense other than perhaps the aesthetic sense. I think even my hair is better. Nevertheless,
I'm fucking an asshole.
we don't just abhor him. I mean, we abhor all the warmongers that have gone before him and that have come after him. We abhor all authoritarian statists and statism.
Yeah!
We abhor funding and arming other nations to commit atrocities with our money.
Yeah! That's right! That's right!
We abhor the endless printing and creating of money out of thin air by the Federal Reserve to totally devalue our dollar and drive people into misery. End the Fed! 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 End the Fed!
Yeah! Do it!
And most of all, we deplore the political nonsense that passes for the dominant parties in this country.
Yeah.
The Libertarian Party is the only party that stands on principle at all times. We have the only principled view of war comprehended in the libertarian philosophy and political party. So I want to congratulate you tonight. I want to congratulate all of you for moving the needle toward liberty, for seeing a clink in their chain, for finding a way to attack this monstrosity that we began doing this day. We have started a major movement. Let's keep it going. It's time to wreck the regime!
Media, I'd like you to go ahead and make your way to the front. Security is going to let you in, and we're getting ready for our press conference. We're going to hear from Mike Termott in the meantime. So media, come on up. Paging our communications director. Run.
Was Chase Oliver on fire just now, or what? Anyone in here ever get confused about the difference between Donald Trump and Michael Rechtenwald? No! Wreck the regime, baby. Yeah! Donald Trump was the guy in the White House when we bombed Syria. He's that Republican. Yeah! He was the guy in the White House when we drove our national debt over $30 trillion because he is that Republican. He is the guy that presided over a record-setting bout of inflation because he tolerates it. He refuses to make the changes necessary because he is that Republican. Right. You tell your friends high and low, if you vote for that party, you're sending a signal that you tolerate that. Is that the signal that you want to send? No! If you vote for anything but a party that represents your values, you are wasting your vote. Yeah. Tell your neighbor. Joe Biden, you vote for that. If you want that Democrat, if you want that Republican, it's right there, baby. If you want the real thing, come home to Libertarian Party.
Go ahead up there.
Thank you so much. I'm going to invite our candidates back up to the stage, and press, we're going to ask you to come to the front down here below. You're going to be able to do Q&A, and our brilliant, wonderful communications director, Brian McWilliams, is going to help pull this off. But let me welcome back Chase Oliver, Michael Rechtenwald, and Mike Termott. I apologize, we're sharing one mic. We're going to let Brian, we're getting the press settled. So we're going to jump in.
No, right here. Right here.
You're not Wilson's just supposed to be Hamilton.
Please come to the front. Please come to the front. It's easy access so they can see you, they can hear you. Thank you all. You can, please, you can come up. There we go. Perfect. Just, if you want to fill out that side too, so they're not going to get quick on the next, I think one direction and not the other. Wonderful, thank you. So I'll ask you please to go one question at a time for our candidates. I'd like you to say which candidate you would like to speak with, and ask your question clearly and concisely so they can hear you. Candidates, please try to keep your answers to about a minute or two. Okay? Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. So, who would like to ask the first question? Yeah.
I'd like to ask all three candidates your response to Donald Trump saying, what's the purpose of the Libertarian Party getting 30% to nominate me, only if you want to win?
The question from Politico is, for the candidates, what is the response to Donald Trump asking about the Libertarian Party getting 3% and why they should vote for him?
So his quote, nominate me if you want to win.
Sorry, nominate you. Nominate him if you want to gain more than 3%. And yes, I know we don't have a secondary mic for the media folks. You can yell it out. It's not going to change the situation.
That's right.
So my response to that, first and foremost, is if he thinks he's going to win our party's nomination, he's more delusional than I thought. And let me tell you right now, we don't need even 3% of the vote sometimes to wreck their day right now, because I did it with 2.1% in Georgia, and that's from the largest and most expensive Senate race in history. And let me tell you right now, that earned us the relevance we need to start putting our message forward. And we're going to keep doing that as candidates all over the country, speaking a true message to libertarianism.
You did that!
If Donald Trump thinks that he can come here in our house and earn our nomination, he's got another thing coming. And I think every single person in this room agrees with me on that. If you want to see a real libertarian running for president, I think you need to let us know right here, right now. That's exactly what I thought.
Unless you don't want to.
Well, you get those 3 times as many questions.
Can you reiterate that?
In response to Trump saying, sorry, this quote, what's the purpose of the Libertarian Party getting 3%? You should nominate Trump only if you want to win.
Yeah, so Trump suggested a couple times, maybe 3 times, that we should nominate him for our presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party. I gotta say, I didn't get angry at this. I almost fell over laughing. It is so ludicrous. It's beyond. It's really beyond the pale. We find this so ludicrous that there has never been, and there are no people in this room in the Libertarian Party at risk for falling for Trump's bullshit. I mean, come on. Nobody's falling for that. Everybody is. It's hilarious. But listen, as I said, we move the needle toward liberty. That is what we have accomplished today alone. And we will continue to accomplish these steps toward liberty every day for as long as we live. I am not here to bash Trump. I am here to run against Trump. I will stand as a beacon of our movement and our party.
Bash him.
I take out paper tigers like Trump for, mild finger exercising. But I don't really, it's so easy. It's really kind of redundant to do. Anyway, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. We did something that momentous today. Let's not forget it. Let's build on it. Let's continue to build a movement for liberty. Together we will wreck the regime.
I think you got plenty of answers. Do you want us to move on to the next one? I mean, the real answer is at least Bobby Kennedy had the decency to lie to us, and we have no interest in him. So why would we have an interest in a guy who had 4 years to demonstrate something he just can't do? Yes, sir. And good looking plaid shirt.
Thank you. Ford Fischer from News to Share. I wanted to ask all 3 candidates, which part of Trump's speech did you most disagree with?
I think. Can you repeat the question? Thanks very much. You want to know which part? I think this is our new poll. If you all want to weigh in on the next poll, here's the question. You ready? Which part of Trump's speech pissed you off the most? I think it was the part that he said hello. I have to admit, there's 2 things that are really important here. The first one is that I do have an answer to the question. It's when he said, well, I've been indicted, so now I'm a libertarian. That's a little bit weird. I've actually met criminals who aren't libertarians. So I'm not sure that qualifies. The other thing that I have to admit is that my lovely wife Nancy was so offended by the whole thing that we left, so I don't actually know about the rest of the answer.
There's two things that really upset me about what Donald Trump said here tonight. The first is when he tried to claim that he was a libertarian, because that's just insulting to our principles and our very nature as libertarians. And the second part that really upset me is the fact that he tried to claim that he started no new wars when he continued the wars that have been going on for decades in this country. You don't get credit for not starting new wars, you only get credit for ending wars. And that's what the Libertarian Party will do in this country.
Oh, we're good. How about another question? Michael. Speak on. Let Mike speak on.
You know, I mean, as I said, the Trump speech was so buffoonish and so forth that I couldn't take it that seriously. And I assume many of you did not either, except for the fact of the policies and outrageous criminality that his administration perpetrated. So, I'm not going to run down a litany of all of the egregious offenses against our freedom. How high are you? Not high enough. Hey, I'm living liberty today.
But how are you not high?
Are you drunk? Okay. No, listen, this is liberty itself. We are embodying it. This is what we must do. We must be the torchbearers of liberty. We must beam liberty out to other people. We must be magnetic in our libertarianism. We must be forceful, but also gentle, and also very compassionate and welcoming to people into this fold. That is the only way we will build a movement, which is what we need to do in order to move the needle toward liberty, the ultimate objective of the Libertarian Party and of libertarians themselves. Thank you.
Next question. By the way, just remember, candidates, please answer the questions, please. Refrain from 5-minute stump speeches. Okay. Yes, question?
Given how, for all three of you, given how much you disagreed with what Trump had to say, do you agree with Chair McArdle's call to invite him at all, or do you think that was a mistake?
The question is whether the candidates agree with Chairman McArdle's decision to invite Donald Trump, or if it was a mistake.
So I think I've been very public about this. The truth is I don't like having a war criminal on this stage. I don't feel he deserves a spot on this stage. And I feel like we can claim relevancy by starting to put a thumb in the eye of the two-party system. That's a better way to do it. You don't get relevancy by rolling over. And that's not what we're going to do here. And so while I think it was a mistake to have invited Donald Trump, I'm glad he got to see a glimpse of what a real libertarian reception feels like.
Look, we're all very nervous that somebody would look at Donald Trump and say, oh, I guess that's what a libertarian is. But I think that that's been resolved. I have to admit that I did have some concern about this guy coming on this stage. I think a lot of us were very concerned about the whole thing. But let's be honest. On balance, you nice people are here asking us questions. We settled the issue once and for all. Donald Trump doesn't even have a libertarian streak. He doesn't have the decency to even lie to us. So I think on balance, as much as I was fearful yesterday, this has turned out to be a hell of a party.
Maybe you don't understand what I've been talking about, what we've done today to move the needle toward liberty. We got a major political party candidate to say that he would free Ross Ulbricht. We moved the needle toward liberty.
Donald Trump repeatedly simultaneously deriding the current president for printing money and causing inflation. I wonder what your reaction to that entire.
So the question is, Donald Trump referred to himself as a free market capitalist while bashing Joe Biden as an inflationary president. What is your reaction to that statement?
Well, my reaction there is that if we look in the record book at what president in office had the highest debt and deficit ever, that would be Donald Trump in the year 2020. And if he's a free market capitalist, I think he owes an answer to my friend who owned a flower shop that got shut down during COVID, and that business went away, and now she works at the Lowe's Garden Center for the giant corporate box companies. So when he killed millions of small businesses in this country, was he being a free market capitalist, or was he being an authoritarian tyrant? You can answer that question for yourselves.
Donald Trump is a capitalist like I'm a Great Dane. I just, wow, of all the things that he might claim about himself, that is just shy of, I'm an alien. Donald Trump is not a capitalist in any sense of the word. What we do know is that he likes to make a lot of money for himself. He actually is one of these guys that likes to use government for his own purposes as well. This is what should really make you fearful. It's not so much that he doesn't understand capitalism. I think he understands it quite well. In fact, I would argue that's what makes him more dangerous. He understands it damned well, and yet thumbs his nose at the capitalist ideal. Donald Trump is not merely someone who is not a libertarian. I think this is very important. Donald Trump is someone who does get it. Anyone out there who thinks that Donald Trump is merely an idiot, I think is missing the larger point. Donald Trump is not merely someone who's not a libertarian. Donald Trump is anti-libertarian.
What was the question again? Yeah, so, I think Trump is trying to suggest that, he cut some regulations and so forth. But I would eliminate the entire regulatory regime altogether. Donald Trump says he's for free speech, but he didn't listen to many of our own demands here about the Fed, and he didn't really respond to our plea. Nevertheless, I really think this is getting redundant, and I'm not interested in carrying out an all-night Donald Trump roast. It's just a little bit boring, and I'm just not. This is not something I want to keep participating in.
Well, I'll keep answering the questions from the press as long as you guys are asking. I'm not going to display the requisite moral outrage.
Where's your needle?
You can opt out. It's a voluntary move.
Can you address Trump's pledge to nominate a libertarian to his cabinet should he be reelected?
Yeah, they said Donald Trump pledged to nominate a libertarian to his cabinet should he be reelected. Did you just want us to respond to that general statement?
Yeah.
This lovely reporter here just asked us to respond to the fact that Donald Trump said if he was reelected that he would appoint a libertarian to his cabinet. My answer to that is you had 4 years in office to put a libertarian in your cabinet or your government, and you didn't do it. So what makes you think you're going to ever do it with 4 more years? I say no more 4. 4 years of liberty is what we need. We need to put a libertarian in office that will actually put libertarians in the cabinet, because you cannot trust Donald Trump as far as you can throw him. I don't know if you saw him. He's a pretty big dude. I don't think anybody can really throw him that far. So maybe he needs to take a diet, but here's the truth. Our former president is a war criminal, and no true libertarian would ever want to work in the cabinet of a war criminal.
I thought that was a good answer.
Focusing on your guys' campaigns, You're trying to lead a party that's very divided, has a lot of different opinions. How do you propose to be an effective nominee, and can you get more support than Gary Johnson did in 2016?
So the question is, how do you propose to lead the divided party forward and get more support than Gary Johnson did in the previous round? All good. And it's a perfect question for me, if I can be so self-serving. Look, Gary Johnson did get quite a bit of support, made it to double digits in the polls. It's all good. We understand that Gary had a head start because he had been a sitting governor only a few years earlier. He ran with a lot of credibility. But remember, and this is, by the way, also the answer to the other half of the question, which is how do you lead a divided party? Are we really all that divided? No! Thank you very much. Anyone who thought the Libertarian Party was divided yesterday, all they have to do is come to a Trump rally and all of a sudden you realize Chase and I look like brothers, damn it. Yeah, we're not, the answer is we're not that divided. But let me get to the Gary Johnson half of the question. I would argue that the reason that Gary, and by the way, we all love ourselves some Gary, right? The reason that Gary's campaign imploded after he forgot the name of a town in Syria was not because he made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I'm going to make a mistake. Someday, eventually, Chase will make a mistake. Someday, far into the future, everybody makes mistakes. Here's the problem. Gary had not sufficiently differentiated himself from Republicans and Democrats. He had not led a sufficiently differentiated campaign based on libertarian principles so that when that eventual mistake comes, people had enough reason to hang on to him. Now, strangely, let's take a lesson from Donald Trump. Of all the weird things I'll say this week, let this be the weirdest. You all remember that Donald Trump once famously said, and I'm paraphrasing because it's not a quote I've committed to memory, something along the lines of, they say I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue without losing a great deal of support. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, shooting someone on Fifth Avenue is worse than forgetting the name of a Syrian city. I'm just going to assert that. But I think that Donald Trump is probably right in some sense. People know why they hate his guts. People know why they love him. And Gary had not sufficiently differentiated. So let me make this statement. When I believe it will be me as the nominee, but no matter who it is, if it's Chase, if it's anyone else, we will not make that mistake. People know why they love us, and people will know why they hate our guts. We will not try to hide the fact that we are a new choice, completely differentiated. You will not know why to love us or to hate us, and if I forget the name of a town in Syria or anywhere else, you'll be able to overlook it.
I think if you ask what's going to unite this party with our candidates in November, whoever they may be, I do hope it's me, but whoever it is, I think it's by standing with our common principles. Things like free markets, voluntary exchange, opposing the warfare state, supporting your right to privacy and free speech, ending the broken monetary policy and returning us back to normalcy, supporting alternative currencies, supporting our ability to live our lives in peace and understand that even if we have neighbors that live differently from us, liberty affords that as long as we do so in peace. Now, if you're asking me how I'm going to send that message when I run for president, that's because I am under the age of 40. I've actually had to live in this economy that has been given to us by the statists since 9/11. I've had to live in the post-9/11 warfare state. I've had to see what happens when banks get bailed out and regular people get screwed over through excessive taxation. I know what it means to have to live paycheck to paycheck, unlike the Donald Trumps of the world. And I haven't been politically connected for 50 years like the Joe Bidens of the world. I know what it means to be the average American and to go to the grocery store and spend the same amount week after week, but seeing less and less filling up the cart. That is a direct result of the statist policies, and we're going to find common ground with millions and millions of Americans who are sick and tired of being sick and tired of a two-party system. We're going to provide them a true alternative to that and bring millions of people in the tent. And when we do, I want each and every one of you to say the exact same thing that John Mon said to me when I got welcome to the party. Welcome home to liberty.
Of all the guest speakers that were not libertarian, the one that resonated most with the audience was Vivek Ramaswamy. Would it change anything if he became Trump's running mate?
No.
Hell no!
I'm not sure.
Okay, next question. If you have a different answer, you let me know. No, first of all, no. But I would argue that Vivek was...
The question was, would Vivek Ramaswamy being a running mate change our mind?
No, Vivek Ramaswamy would not change our minds. But I would also argue, I'm not sure that Vivek Ramaswamy actually connected with the crowd all that much. Was there anybody there for the debate with Clint Russell? Holy cow! I thought Clint Russell was going to dump him in a dumpster behind the barn. That was impressive. Now, I would say it's the same thing. You know, Mike Lee did a nice job of trying to connect with this crowd. Is Mike Lee actually a libertarian? No! I don't think so. There is no running mate in the world, no offense, because I think you'd be a good running mate for Donald Trump.
Fuck no, I wouldn't.
Thank you very much. There is no running mate in the world, not even Chase Oliver, who would clean that ticket up.
Please.
Do you think Trump addressing the Free Ross movement was pandering on his part, or do you...
Yes.
I'll repeat the question. Do you think the Free Ross movement and Donald Trump's statement that he would pardon Ross is pandering on Trump's part?
He didn't say pardon.
He said commute.
He didn't say what?
He didn't say pardon.
And I want to tell you this right now. Ask yourself this question. Do you really think Donald Trump even knew Ross Ulbricht's name before he decided to come here and try to pander to us? Do you think he had any inkling of trying to free Ross? Do you think the guy who said that Julian Assange deserves the death penalty is going to get freed by him? So don't trust Donald Trump when he comes here selling you a load of lies. He's a liar and a grifter just like every other two-party politician.
Is that enough answer for you?
I mean, I'd love for you to answer, but...
Oh, I thought Chase nailed it. Yes, ma'am.
So I got to touch on this with you earlier today, but Donald Trump talked about not requiring medical procedures given his track record. The number one question I've had on the live stream tonight is, do you guys support medical autonomy and specifically women's bodily autonomy?
Go ahead, buddy. Repeat the question.
The question was, is she the most asked question on this young woman's live stream? Asking Donald Trump talks about medical freedom is, what do we think about bodily autonomy and specifically a woman's right to choose? Now I know this is a contentious topic.
Choose what?
Women's right to choose an abortion. Now here's the truth. I understand this is a divisive measure. People have their own personal conscience here. But the truth is I don't want anybody's own personal conscience to be using the force of the state to impose that will on anybody else. I understand it's a difficult decision, and I understand many people are personally pro-life. But just like I am personally in favor of a lot of things, I'm not in favor of using the force, the bullets, and the evil of government to enforce it. So one thing that women can know in this country is that if I am the nominee, I will support your right to control your body, because here's the truth. If you're living your life in peace, your life is your life, your body is your body, your business is your business, and your property is your property, not mine and not the government's.
I want to echo everything Chase just said, especially the part about keeping the government the hell out of your life. I want to speak just for 5 seconds to you out there who are pro-lifers, and I know there's a lot of you out there. I have grown up in my community of faith as being personally pro-life. Those of us who feel this way, it is incumbent upon us to make the movement in our society, in our culture, to move our society in the direction that we believe it needs to go. It is not, thank you, it is not up to us to use government, to use the criminal code, to use some police force to get our way. And if I may, Donald Trump has gone through some weird times. He has been pro-life, he has been pro-choice, but never once have I seen him out there trying to make his case to the public. In both cases, he was all about using the government to get his way. That we cannot stand.
Trump did not talk about Julian Assange nor Edward Snowden, but he did talk about the January 6th defendants who he referred to as political prisoners and hostages.
Yes.
How do you respond on all three?
Because he's so damn self-serving.
Nice.
So you asked us about how he didn't mention Julian Assange or Edward Snowden, but he did mention the January 6th protesters, calling them political prisoners. Here's the truth. If Donald Trump cared about anybody but himself, whether you agree with it or not, he would have pardoned those January 6th protesters before he left office. He didn't do it because he knew he was going to run for re-election again, and that would be an albatross around his neck. So he is self-serving. And when it comes to why he doesn't want to pardon Julian Assange or Edward Snowden, it's because he's part of the warfare state that's exporting death and violence around the world, and they exposed it, and that makes those people dangerous people to the status people. And so we need to support Julian Assange, we need to support Edward Snowden, and say loud and clear, hell no to the warfare state, not in our name, not with our money, and not with our government.
Oh, no, I was saying thank you.
Next question.
Any other questions?
We did pretty good. Listen, you guys have been great tonight. And Brian, thanks for setting up the press conference. You've all been terrific. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you after the Donald Trump rally. We have a big day tomorrow. Chase will be there. Michael Rechtenwald will be there, I will be there, and real libertarians will be there. Oh, who's missing? Donald Trump will not be there tomorrow.
This girl is claiming to be missing. Well, she's an adult now. A national security missing is what the children's website. And she's not missing at all. According to New York News, I can give you all the evidence on the fire as well. Will you, if I can prove to you that this is totally true, that you call when the fire stopped, she was missing, is that they actually call for the public to call 911 so she's not missing at all.
This is too long of a question.
Okay, that's
the weird ones I'll talk about. Yeah, we can talk about
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, we want to know where you guys stand on the TikTok ban and whether or not you support the infringement of 170 million Americans' right to use it.
Are you streaming on TikTok right now?
I sure am.
Let me tell the people that you're streaming on TikTok right now this, okay? I don't care who owns the platform. TikTok should be free. You should be allowed to use it. You have the right to determine the platforms that you use and the platforms you speak on. And of course, I want to speak to the youth of America, and that's where they're at is on TikTok. I encourage them to follow me on TikTok, and I look forward to speaking to young people all over this country, and hell no to banning free speech in this country. They claim it's because China steals our data. I have a surprise for each and every one of you. All Facebook, X, all of them steal your data too, and guess what? So does the federal government. So if it's a crime for TikTok to do it, it should be a crime for our own government to steal our privacy.
Even I follow Chase Oliver on TikTok. Look. If my kids were little anymore, and they're not, they're giant pains in the ass, but if my kids were little, I probably wouldn't allow them to be on TikTok. I gotta be honest with you. Do I want Donald Trump and the rest of the federal government making that decision? Of course not. Let's be serious. A government that will take away TikTok or any other platform is a government who will boss around the other platforms like Facebook. And Chase is exactly right. They collect data on us already. They shut down platforms. We need to be absolutists about the First Amendment. If we are not absolutists about the First Amendment, what the hell are we doing here? Please.